Looks like it's connecting. Hey, Jordan.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. How has everything been today? How have you been doing?
Good, good. Today's my off day from workouts, so I just took a nap a little bit ago, so I'm feeling good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so nice. So how
Yeah.
many days a week do y'all work out?
It's about 5 days a week, so we do 2 days on, 1 day off. So,
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, well, we're just super excited to have you on with us today. And obviously, we listed a bunch of your accolades in our post. And so it's just really cool that we get to spend this time with you. And so if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to throw them in the DMs and we will get to them as soon as possible. So just kind of going into it, tell us about your like kind of growth in volleyball. So how you started, what club volleyball was like for you, all those things.
Yeah. So I started playing volleyball in, I think it was seventh grade. I tried out for my middle school team. My friend Lindsay was actually trying out and she was like, "Oh, you'd love it, like just try it."
Hmm.
And she ended up making the A team and I made the B team. And basically I just had to learn every skill of volleyball. Like it was my first time being exposed to the sport, so that was pretty cool. And so I started off with that, and then played 1 year of club at Club 43, and then after that I went to Northern Lights and played at Northern Lights for the rest of high school. And so just had a great time there and made a lot of lifelong friends. So that was awesome.
Yeah, so in club volleyball, how like what are the different types of things that you learned in those, beginning years, those formative years of playing?
Hmm. Yeah, I think honestly, like for me, I started out as a middle,
Okay.
and I think just like that was basically my first position in the sport, and um, just
Not
like
an easy one.
yeah, not an easy one. And I don't know why, but I was just super timid when I was young, and so my mom would actually have to pay me to hit the ball hard,
Oh,
and so
how much would
so
she
that
give
was
you?
just like I don't know. It wasn't anything crazy, I don't think. I think it was like maybe $5 or something.
That's awesome.
Um, but so that was, that helped me sort of be like, okay, I can be tough in this sport and, I'm
Yeah.
not going to hurt people. It'll be okay.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and then I think like the biggest thing, like the biggest takeaway from club volleyball was just the importance of team chemistry and just the role that that plays on teams. I felt like I played on a lot of teams where we might not have had the most talented group of girls compared to teams that we would play, but we had such great team chemistry that we were beating teams that people were like, oh, it's going to be like the other team's going to sweep them and blah, blah, blah. And like we would come out and fight really hard and just play so well together that we would take teams down that we weren't supposed to beat. So that was, I think, the coolest thing about club.
That's awesome. So in those early years, you said you played some middle. Did you
Hmm.
play any other positions or was that kind of it?
I played middle, right side, and outside. And like for a little bit in middle school, like on my first middle school team, I was setting. So
Yes. How did that
yeah.
go?
Um, honestly, I don't remember like actually setting a lot. Like my coach was always like, just tip it over on the second ball. So, because I would throw teams off, and so I felt like I was more of a designated tipper than a setter, but it was fun.
That's awesome. So, kind of moving into your college years, what made you pick Cincinnati?
Yeah. I think for me, like when I took my visit to Cincinnati, I really just got, I don't even know how to describe it. It just felt like that was going to be my next home. And and I loved the facilities and the school. They had I wanted to go to school for criminal justice, and it was like one of the top programs in the country for criminal justice at the time. And so that was really exciting for me. And then the coaches were huge. Um, and the reason I think that I was even started looking at Cincinnati was because one of my good friends, Jade Tinglehoff, she was committed to Cincinnati, and I was still sort of looking for a school, and she was like, well, why don't you check out Cincinnati? Like, you might like it. And I was like, I don't know, okay. And so I ended up taking my visit, and I loved it. So that was really cool that we got to play together.
That's awesome. So, have you always been interested in criminal justice?
Yeah, I think ever since I was little, I always loved like the crime TV shows and stuff like that, and it was always really interesting to me. So I feel like I've always sort of known that's what I wanted to do.
That's amazing. So, was it hard? Like, was that a difficult major to juggle with playing volleyball, or do you feel like you were able to manage pretty well?
I think it was honestly like one of the easier majors to handle. I know like a lot of other girls on my team were in like biology or like
Wow.
chemical engineering, and I'm like, there's no way I would make it. Um,
Hats off to them for sure.
yeah, yeah. But it was awesome. Like my all of my professors worked with me whenever I'd have to miss class for games and stuff like that. So I think it was definitely manageable.
So, how frequently did y'all travel? What did that look like at Cincinnati?
Yeah, we traveled. It would kind of depend. Usually it was like every other weekend. Sometimes we could leave for 2 weekends in a row. So we would leave on a Thursday morning and then get back on Sunday night, sometimes like around midnight even. So
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Um, where do you like, were there any favorite places that you went when you were in college? Like, did you have any favorite gyms or anything like that?
I would say my favorite gym, I don't know. That's a hard one. I liked traveling to Florida because it was always warmer than in
Mhm.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And so that was nice. And then playing UCF, Central
Yeah.
Florida, was always really fun just because it was such great competition and it was always like just such like an electric atmosphere. And so I think that was my favorite place to play.
That's cool. So when you're at Cincinnati playing volleyball, do you feel like you have any like top favorite moments of all time when you were there?
Yeah, I think the my favorite memory will definitely be going to the Sweet 16. Um, and just like the whole tournament leading up to that was just so crazy, and like beating Pitt was like nobody, I don't think, expected that. So
Yeah,
that was just really exciting, and to be able to do that my senior year, and like that's the thing that we'd been working for ever since I
for
got there
sure.
at least. So it was just really special to be a part of such an incredible season and an incredible team.
Yeah, so when y'all did beat Pitt,
Mhm.
what was y'all's mindset? Like, how did y'all do that, and what was different, or what helped you guide you through that match, I guess?
Yeah. So we had played Pitt one time in preseason, so we sort of remembered what they looked like.
Hmm.
So I think that was helpful. It wasn't just a brand new team that we were seeing for the first time. And then we honestly, I think we went in there knowing we had nothing to lose. And I always feel like we sort of had this like underdog mentality where like even if like, even for teams where it's sort of like, okay, we should win this game, I think it's always helpful to just go in with an underdog mentality where you're like, okay, anybody can beat you on any day, and it doesn't matter. You can't just show up and win a game. And so um, I think we were just like excited that we even had the opportunity to be in that position. And we knew that we would make history if we, won that game. And so
Yeah,
going in and knowing like we literally have nothing to lose. Like if
yeah,
anything, we have everything to gain. So let's just, do our
get
thing.
after it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so it was just crazy. I think that was the best that we ever played together. And it was cool to just have that be the time where we, come together like that.
Definitely. So, obviously, you were a huge leader this past year, and I'm sure years before. What do you feel like you learned over your time in terms of leadership when you were at Cincinnati?
Yeah. So leadership was like a huge, something that I was always working on when I was there. And my coach actually would take me through like this leadership book. And so we would sit down like each week and have just a chapter that we go through, and it was sort of like a workbook, and there was like I guess like little homework assignments. So we would check in each week and just see like how I did on a certain skill and stuff like that, just to keep building my leadership skills. And so I think I just learned a lot about how to be an effective leader, and I guess how to reach each teammate, just because, you know, everybody's not going to respond the same way to um, different, like if you know, only communicate in one way, you know, everybody has different kinds of communication styles. So just finding what makes each player tick and what drives people, I think that was the biggest thing in helping me be a better leader.
Cool. So as a player, obviously you're still playing now and practicing, obviously not in this current moment, but
Yeah.
what do you feel like your bread and butter is as a player? Like, what is something you can do without fail and you just know you're great at it?
That's such a tough question because I feel like it's different skills at different uh, times. I
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes I feel like I'm really good and like a really strong server, and then other times I'm like, dude, I can't serve the ball like in with pace to save my life. But I feel like consistently it's just attacking. I would say in system attacking is more of my strength than out of system attacking. But that's something I feel like I can usually fall back on if I'm struggling in a different skill during a game. I'm like, okay, just pick the one thing you're doing well and focus on that and just do that really well for your team.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a mindset that you use going into games? Like, is it the same or does it depend on the game you're playing? Like, what kind of mindset do you use?
Yeah, I think I try and have the same mindset each game. And it's really helpful to know the team that you're playing. And so for me, I'm always looking at the scouting report before the game, so I know what players' tendencies are and stuff like that, just to, you know, give yourself a better advantage. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I will take into games. Otherwise, I try not to let my emotions get too crazy or get too excited, or, you know, even for games where it's like, again, like you should win this game, like I try not to let myself get too relaxed because I know like if you don't show up, like someone will beat you. And so,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So what do you feel like a major takeaway is for you from Cincinnati, your time at Cincinnati, whether that's volleyball takeaway or just general things about life?
Yeah, I think that the biggest takeaway for me was just that I'm more than a volleyball player. And I know that sounds so simple, but for me, when I got injured going into my junior year at Cincinnati, it felt like my life was sort of falling apart because it felt like volleyball was the glue that was holding me together. And it was always that constant in my life. And so then once I had that like taken from me for about 10 months, it was like, oh my gosh, like I need to figure out who I really am. And
Yeah.
so I think it just helped me realize just, you know, that my identity is not in volleyball and I'm more than a volleyball player. So uh, I think that honestly has helped me to be a better volleyball player and a better teammate. So.
Good. That's awesome. So when did you first start getting involved kind of in the national area with the national team?
Yeah, I started playing, I think my freshman year, my coach sent me and two of my teammates to the national team open tryout
Yeah.
in Colorado Springs.
Mhm.
So that was the first time that I really knew about like the, I guess, USA pipeline. Um,
Mhm.
and so I made the collegiate national team my freshman year and then my sophomore year. And then got injured, and then when I tried out again, going into my senior year, that was when Karch asked my coach if I would be able to come out and train with the team in the summer. And so so it would have been last summer, and so that was really my first time ever you know, being around the coaches for a long time, getting to know the team and learning the system and everything. So there were just like so many new things coming at me at once, but it was so cool because I was just like, okay, I just want to be a sponge and soak up as much as I can and,
Mhm.
you know, enjoy the journey. So,
Yeah. So what do you feel like during your time kind of in that area? How has it been like meeting new people and like what have you learned through the different relationships and different ideologies for how volleyball can be played? Like what have
Hmm.
you learned from all of that?
Yeah, I think there's so many things that I learned last summer just from watching other players, and whether that was like in practice or during games, just like being on the bench during games and watching how people compete differently, and how people lead in different ways. And so there was just so many little bits and pieces that I was like, wow, I really like how Jordan Larson, like how she works as a competitor, and how she sees the game. And Annie Drews, she's such an amazing teammate, and will always, even though we're the same position, like we always have each other's backs. And so she taught me that, and just like all these different things that were, I guess, things that I took and put in my toolbox. And I was like, okay, I really like that about them. Like I want to implement that into the player that I am.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, we got a question. Ashley Dushek, now Huffman, asked, how did you mentally and physically come back from your injury?
That's a good question. Physically, it was difficult. So I tore my UCL in my elbow. Basically, I was going for a ball, and my teammate crossed in front of me. So we are both going for the ball. And then I pretty much punched her in the back and hyperextended my elbow.
Oh no.
Um, and so it was a super common injury among baseball players. And so my surgeon was super confident. He was like, you're going to, recover fine. And it's actually going to be stronger. Um, once you get the surgery done, than it was before I even injured it. And so that was, comforting to know. And I think that helped my mental side. Um, but I think the recovery was just staying patient and not trying to push it too hard. Because at the time, one of my teammates had torn her ACL. Like we basically got injured at the same time, and we had our surgeries around the same time. So she was progressing a lot more quickly than I was. And I think that was hard for me just because I was like, oh, I want to play with you. Like, I just want to go out there together.
Mhm.
Um, but I think just, everybody says this, I think, but taking it a day at a time, because it's not a race. And like, eventually you'll get back out on the court. But you don't want to rush yourself to get out there, because then, you're only going to end up making yourself wait even longer to really be full go again. So just being patient and knowing that your body needs time to heal was the biggest thing for me.
Definitely. So in the time, in college, being able to travel and then being involved with the national team, have there been any favorite cities or countries or anything that you've gotten to see that you maybe wouldn't have been able to see otherwise?
Um, I'm trying to think. When we would travel for the national team, we didn't do a lot of sightseeing, just because of the schedule and how
Yeah.
gnarly the schedule was. But
Mhm.
just honestly, like getting to travel with a team was so much fun anytime we went somewhere. And then we did get a chance to go to Venice when were
Wow.
playing in Italy. And
Mhm.
so I think that was like my second or third time going to Venice, but just to experience it with different people was so much fun, and
Yeah.
just exploring it there, because you can't help but get lost in the streets, and
Yeah.
like everything looks the exact same there. And there's so many
Yes, it
different
does.
canals and everything.
Did you get
So
on a gondola?
no, we didn't. We wanted to, but we didn't have a ton of time. So
Gotcha, gotcha.
yeah, but that was just really fun just to experience it with them.
Definitely. It's really cool. Um, so how, obviously you said you were working out and stuff like that, but I'm sure it's super difficult to stay active right now.
Hmm.
How have you been able to do that?
Yeah, so I actually have like a program from the national team that pretty much we have all gotten, and so we're just doing those workouts, and it involves a lot of body weight stuff. And my strength coach actually just recommended a few weeks ago, just stuffing my backpack with like books, and if I have any
Oh.
like
Mhm.
lighter dumbbells that will fit in there, just putting stuff in there because I don't have a lot of equipment. And so we've been getting creative with that. So just a lot of bodyweight stuff, and then a lot of just jumping movements, whether that's off the staircase or just going outside in my front yard and doing approaches and doing my
Yeah.
serving routine,
Yeah.
or, just everything but without the ball, the net, and the court. Yeah, it's been interesting, but
Yeah.
it's been good.
Um, yeah. That's awesome. So, have you done and like have you watched any film? Have you like how do you stay in the mix in terms of just like volleyball IQ?
Yeah. So I've been watching film lately, and that's been helpful. I think it also makes me realize how just how fast the game is when you kind of take time away and then you watch it and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I supposed to play that fast again?
Yeah.
um, but yeah, just watching a lot of film, and just film on myself and then film on other people in my position who I think do a really good job. And so just seeing what people do well, and then also seeing areas that I need growth in, and just sort of coming up with a game plan for once we can get back out on the court, what I want to work on and really focus on.
Cool. Yeah. Do you feel like you watch even more film now, like kind of after your college career is over, or was there a lot of film analysis when you were at Cincinnati too?
Yeah, I think there was, we watched film a lot, I feel like, at Cincinnati. And then I just really enjoy watching volleyball. So I'll usually go on Volumetrics or even YouTube and just watch different volleyball games. And so I feel like probably watch the same amount of film. Um, but I think definitely with the national team, there was a lot more just like technical things, and I guess like strategic, like just a lot of like crunching numbers and like knowing exactly what people do like on a consistent basis, and having all of these different like scouting reports that are so detailed, and that actually
Mhm.
like took me a while to like get used to like reading and like understanding. But I
Mhm.
think that was interesting just to uh, have to learn a new scouting report and see how that works. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome. So I know right now is kind of a crazy time, but what do you feel like you're looking forward to the most in this next year?
Um, I'm looking forward to obviously getting back to volleyball and being with my teammates and everything. But just really growing, I think, in this year, as a volleyball player, but also as a person. And I think this is a great time just to sort of reflect. And I've just been doing a lot of self-reflection, and
Mhm.
um, just, I guess evaluating myself on like, okay, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Where can I grow? And so I'm just looking forward to seeing how, I guess, all that plays out. Um, and just looking forward to finally having, for USA to have the opportunity to go to the Olympics.
Mhm.
Whether I'm a part of that team or not, I'm just excited to see what we do as a program there. So I can't wait for that.
Definitely. Yeah. So kind of wrapping up, what advice do you have for current club players right now?
um, I would just say, like, I feel like it's really hard to stay motivated right now for a lot of people. And I think that's completely normal. But just finding each day that one thing that motivates you to, just get 1% better. And whether that's, a volleyball thing, or just, being a better person and finding, just a new skill, getting creative, whatever it may be. Um, but just, not letting this time go to waste, because I think, it's valuable time that, we get to spend with our families and building relationships. And so just try and stay motivated as much as you can, and it will be over at some point, and we're going to get through it together. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, there's lots of love for you in our chat box. We really enjoyed having you today.
Thank you
Again,
so
just thank you
much.
so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
yeah, awesome. Okay, well, thanks. We'll
Yes.
hopefully talk to you sometime soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Bye, Jordan.
Bye.